Hello, hello, hello. This is Corey Thompson from Above Board and Dice Tower Dish.
And this is the Podfather of Gaming, Stephen Bonacor. You are listening to Board Games Insider, episode 316, and we're recording on April 19th, 2024. Board Games Insider, proud to be powered by Board Game Geek. Corey, this is the second episode in a row that I'm touching you during our recording here.
My fondest dreams come true.
Keep it PG here, man. Keep it to PG.
You don't know where my arms are below this camera.
My hands are here, as our audience who watch see this. But we're again here at the Gathering of Friends. I feel like I've been here for a month, but it's been a week and a half already. It's wild. It is kind of getting right toward the end, but it's been a great time.
Yeah, it's Friday right now. Most people are going to be gone by Sunday. I'm flying out early Monday.
Yeah, as am I.
Yeah. But 10-day board game convention with just the most magnificent, crazy, up to the minute new games you've ever seen.
Yeah, and and one of the things, and we'll talk a little bit about this, is that this event, which is not an industry event, though some of the most amazing people in the industry do come here, is just as much about the socializing as it is about...
Oh, maybe more so.
Yeah, it's amazing. I game a lot, but I don't game from 8 a.m. till midnight every day. I go out for great dinners and some fun lunches, and it's just a lot of fun. So, the Gathering of Friends, 34 years and still going strong. Corey, what's happening over with you?
Well, I don't know if you heard, but I'm at the Gathering of Friends.
Oh, God. That's so good.
No, this is what's new with each of us. I mean, we're probably going to have kind of the same story. Is just playing crazy good games. I have had so many dinners and lunches and just get-togethers and social. I can't even list how many people I get to hang out with who I normally don't. I've played just amazing games. I got to interview Antoine Bauza.
Who was an awesome guy.
Oh, such a nice guy. Came in from France.
And it's his first time he's been at the Gathering, which is very interesting.
I didn't know that.
Yes,
I
it is.
thought he'd been multiple times. But Bauza, of course, did Tokaido, Takenoko, Seven Wonders Duel. The list goes on and on and on. So many just favorite games.
It's kind of funny when you see somebody as famous as Anton Bauza. You're always like, oh, of course he's been here for the last 10 years since I've been. But no, for whatever reason, he either just got his invitation or, he couldn't make it until this year. So it was nice to see him again. He's a really, really pleasant guy.
And the games, I mean, I got to play Shackleton Base, A Journey to the Moon by Fabio Lopiano, taught to me by Fabio Lopiano, who it was his first year
Very
here.
Nice.
Such an amazing, heavy Euro game with neat puzzle elements in the middle. It was really good. The other one that stuck in my mind, and this is a really goofy one, is Captain Games is the company that did Sides and Path to Civilization,
which is
was
a
their
big
one.
game.
Well, Path to Civilization's a big box, but it's pretty light. It's basically a Seven Wonders level through the ages.
Sure.
So, a Civ game. It's one of my favorites. But Francois from Captain Games brought this little card game that's... All it is a deck of cards with ducks on them that goes 1 to 12. And every player has one.
It's called...
Duck and Cover.
And that has nothing to do with a war game, right? Duck and Cover.
No,
it's ducks and cards.
A goofy game where you lay down these numbered cards in front of yourself and someone calls out one of the numbers 1 to 12, just Karuba style, bingo style, and you move that numbered card and you move it on top of other cards, consolidating your piles, and you want to make the least sum of all the piles in front of you.
Yes.
It's easy, simple, it happens instantly, and it's just so much goofy fun. You could play like 10 people at once, and everybody's quacking and having a good time.
And it's right, when you can't move a card, you have to say quack. And like when everybody at the table quacks, then you got to remove a card and you go on to the next. So it's very silly.
Loved it.
Very silly. It's kind of game that appeals if you like games like Six Nymphed, and things like that. This is the kind of game you're going to like.
Hilo, Sky Joe, that kind of feeling.
Right. Well, over here at the Podfather Gaming, of course, Gathering Friends, blah, blah, blah.
You've been at the Gathering
and
Friends?
that's where all of my gaming has happened. And the highlights of my gaming, there'll be a lot of little games, and I played Duck and Cover with Corey the other day. But some of the bigger game highlights, one of them was This War of Mine. In fact, I just finished the game.
I just saw you playing it.
Yeah. Wow. What a roller coaster game. It's a sad game. The game is about survivors of a war, a la the war in Ukraine right now. It's that kind of game where you have to scavenge, you have to feed yourself. There are gonna be people who are gonna try to steal things from you. The military might show up. It's a really sad, gut-wrenching game, but an amazing storytelling game. You're immersed in this world and just trying to survive. And most of the times, after 2 hours, you die. Everybody. You're not actually playing the characters. You're manipulating the 3 characters in the game, and some of them die, and you try to get more.
Gain more.
Right.
But there's no food. There's no supplies. There's no safety. Everybody's out to get everybody. The stories are
really rough.
Awful moral dilemmas.
Yeah.
Sophie Choice level.
Yep.
Horribleness. It's really, it embodies the horrors of war.
It really does.
Not as the warrior, not as the military, but as the innocent bystander who happens to be in the middle of it.
That's exactly what this is about. This is about the innocent bystanders of war. And it's really sad, but at the same time, just incredibly engaging, and you read the stories, and then people die. You read their story. You read the end of their life story. It's amazing. I absolutely want to play this again. It's a little fiddly, a lot fiddly.
Isn't it the first title from Awakened Realms?
It was their first title back in the day. So if you ever get a chance to play this game, especially do it with somebody who knows how to play the game, because there's not a lot of rules, but a lot of little corner cases.
You played it wrong?
It's a long story that he's using an inside thing. We played it completely wrong last night, and I knew we had. My friend Bill Bricker, he's here too. He brings the game, and he goes, "Oh, this game can last us only 10 minutes after we set it up." And I'm like, and it did. And I'm like, that can't be the game. He goes, "No, that's absolutely the game." I went upstairs. I went to sleep. I then read Board Game Geek, and we realized, of course, we're playing this game wrong. And then we played it correctly. And Matthew Monin, the Octavian from Board Game Geek, they're the community manager. He played with us, and he's played 6 times, and he actually won it 1 time. It's Robinson Crusoe level hard to win this game.
Absolutely.
But if you get a chance, This War of Mine. And the other 2 games, this is not going to be too much of a surprise. I played Dune War for Arrakis, right? That's the new CMON game that does share a DNA with War of the Ring. And I played it twice. Once I almost had to relearn it, and I was teaching somebody, so we didn't finish it. And then I played it again 4-player, which it plays as absolutely as good 4-player as it does 2-player. And we won. We won as the good guys, the Atreides and their Fremen allies. We won as them against the Harkonnen and the Carino allies, but we literally won it at the last rolls. It was a great game. Check it out if you haven't tried this yet. Much easier, really, to get to the table and to play. It's a shorter game than War of the Ring, so check it out. And of course, I did a video on this one, so you can check out my video for the overview to see if you like this on my channel. And then I did play War of the Ring with my good buddy Jeff Ridpath, which he's got the most blown out version. He makes my collector's edition look like it's nothing. Literally, every figure.
Oh, it's insane.
He took the armies and he sent them for a complete painting and basing and everything. So this looks like they're miniatures from a miniatures game. They look amazing. All the mountains are in 3D. All of the cities, the strongholds, the towns, some of the most weird little things that he's got a little mini Argonath, Elendil and Isildur with their hands up at the mouth of the
Anduin.
Anduin. Yeah, we're gonna go on this. I should probably mention now that that Frodo told Corey that he knows nothing about Lord of the Rings. I'm going to post that video. Let's not even talk about it right now. It'll be a great surprise for everybody who does see it. I'm winning the who knows more.
Oh, not winning. No.
Of Lord of the Rings, 3 Hobbits to 1.
No.
Oh, yes. No. All right, we're going to get to that one later. And, of course, had some great meetings this week. Yes, I don't work, but hung out with Zeb, who's just a good friend. I do it for him anyway.
Sure.
But we played so much of the Play to Z games that are in the pipeline and lots of prototypes. I called it Zev Day, and we just did it all day. Great time. I might have had a meeting with Office Dog, Asmodee, about my game, and things are progressing very well. So that was very happy. Yep. And then the last thing is, just want to mention that I get home for 2 days, I turn around and get on a plane to Maui, and we're going to start the Podfather the Cruise 2 week when I'm there. It's going to be amazing.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, I'm so excited. And again, the cruise is for charity, so it makes me happy that in the end we were able to donate.
I've got like 3 weeks home.
Wow, that's crazy.
Till you come to my house.
That's right. I'll be there pretty soon. All right, everybody. We have a lot of news to get to, so let's get to the event deck. All right. The first bit of news is truly why you listen to Board Games Insider.
Yeah.
By the time you hear this, though, you would have heard this news. However, we were given exclusive access to Lucky Duck Games, and we interviewed both the president, Vince Vergongen, I can't pronounce his name, and the chief sales and marketing officer, Scott Morris, who have sold the company to Goliath Games. So Goliath, not Goliath Games, it's called Goliath, has acquired Lucky Duck Games.
Now, it's really an interesting move because Goliath is an absolute Goliath in the mass market scene. Goliath, of course, owns Pressman, which does all of the abstract games, chess and checkers and things like that. Family games. They also do Rummy Cube. So the big thing is Goliath has multiple divisions, and Lucky Duck is going to be the hobby board game, more advanced board game division for Goliath. Right.
So all the principals and everybody at Lucky Duck is still going to be there.
They're all going to be there.
There's no thoughts of layoffs, and yeah, I mean, at least at the moment. But this is one of those marriages made in heaven.
Absolutely.
Because there's a complete synergy between the two companies. You have all of these hobby games that Lucky Duck brings to the table, and Goliath is huge in mass. So Lucky Duck games will show up in different places now because Goliath has reach into other places and things like that.
The only change they said that's going on is Lucky Duck is probably not going to continue with very light kids games or mass, things of mass level, because Goliath is already doing it.
Right. I mean, so you can see some of those games potentially going over to the Goliath brand, right? They'll take those games. If they won't have to focus on those games, they'll go to Goliath.
Right, but development house inside Lucky Duck is going to be more the digital hybrid and more strategy games that everyone's used to.
Right, exactly. So what's really wonderful is that, and I can't thank Scott and Vince enough, they gave us an exclusive interview, which we recorded a few days ago.
Yeah.
And it's going to post at the moment, I might put it up a minute or two before just to say we were first, the moment that Goliath makes the press release announcement. So by the time you hear us talking on April 24th, on April 22nd, this would have been on our stream all over the place. Please go over to the Podfather of Gaming YouTube channel and look for the video that says Lucky Duck Games acquired by Goliath, and you'll see that interview. It goes about for 20 minutes, and it's a great conversation with the two guys.
They're such nice guys.
Who are so wonderful, so nice, and it's such a great opportunity for them to just grow Lucky Duck, which is already a big company in this industry, in hobby game, growing that to the next level.
Yeah.
Very, very cool. So the next one's a silly little one, but I mean, we really want to point this out, and you might have heard this already, but Ticket to Ride, right, one of the 2-3 biggest selling games in our industry, had this incredible skit on Saturday Night Live.
It was really funny. So basically there was a Saturday Night Live skit where they offered to play board games, and one character was nervous about being Jumanji'd into the board game, and it turns out they played Ticket to Ride, and an evil They were Jumanji'd in.
They were Jumanji. So
It was
and they used
with
the
guest host Weeg.
they used the word Jumanji as a verb like 14 times. Are we going to be Jumanji'd into the game, or does the game come out and Jumanji us outside the game? It was hysterical. I'm not a huge fan of Saturday Night Live, actually. I just don't think it hits on all cylinders.
I think
this was funny, especially for dorks like
For
us.
total nerds. It's exciting because anytime our industry gets mentioned into the public, it's really cool. We had that little stint a while ago with South Park where there were board games that getting inserted into South Park because, of course, Trey Parker's a big fan of the industry. And now we've got Saturday Night Live talking about Ticket to Ride. So we're becoming nearly mainstream here.
There we go. So this is interesting. It's a Kickstarter news, and it's something that Kickstarter is surely late to the party. And by the way, Ignacy put this in there, and Ignacy didn't understand what late to the party means, so he had to figure that out. But he put that in. Corey, tell us about this news about Kickstarter.com, the company itself.
Yeah, this is an update from actual Kickstarter, not from one of the pledges specifically. And Kickstarter is going to start offering to creators the ability to continue late pledges well after the date that the actual campaign ends. This is something that GameFound already does.
And most other companies used another piece of software to do it, like they used backer kits. Software. There's a bunch of pledge managers.
Yeah, the pledge managers.
All of these different companies
would handle things like that.
They had to kind of integrate two things. Now Kickstarter is going to do it themselves. I have an opinion about this. They're late to the party, as Ignacy now has found out what that means.
Yeah, pretty late.
I mean, I just don't. I mean, like, look, Kickstarter is huge, but why would they not have done this literally 5 years ago?
Well, the impression that I get is that Kickstarter has taken the position of, we are the top in this industry. We are the source for crowdfunding. So we'll just keep doing what we've been doing. And they haven't felt any pressure or threatening from anyone else. But now GameFound has increased tremendously. Even BackerKit has recently had a massive campaign with the second Brandon Sanderson novel campaign, which that one was huge. 20 million?
Oh, it was an unbelievable campaign.
Yeah, for BackerKit, which really puts BackerKit on the map.
Yeah. So the next one is interesting. We do a lot of reporting on Hasbro, right? Because they're bigger than everybody, and half of the company, literally half these days, is of course in hobby gaming. That would be the Wizards of the Coast / digital gaming side.
Right.
And very abruptly, apparently, the president of that segment with the Wizards of the Coast / digital gaming, that president, Cynthia Williams, resigned after 2 years in the role. And this one I'm going to go directly to our friends at Board Game Wire. Really great people. You should always check them out as well for news. Cynthia Williams, the president of Hasbro's digital gaming arm and Magic the Gathering and D&D publisher Wizards of the Coast, has resigned from the company after 2 years in the role. Williams told Hasbro 2 days ago, and this was, by the way, on the 15th of April, apparently, that she would be stepping down on April 26th, according to the filing that the company submitted to the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission. So, by the way, that's a little aside from financial stuff. When the president of a listed company is stepping down, they have to make a filing. That's a procedure that has to happen. You don't do that when it's a private company, of course. You don't do that for certain exchanges, but you do that for the New York Stock Exchange. And it continues with, Hasbro said in the filing that it is conducting a search for her successor and will be considering both internal and external candidates, but is yet to make a further statement on Williams' resignation.
It's huge.
I have
surprising.
Some interesting comments on this. Go ahead.
One, everybody that I know that works within Hasbro absolutely loves Cynthia. Thinks she's great.
Do you know her?
I've never met her. I've never met her, but I have friends of friends, and they have nothing but good things to say. And 2 weeks notice.
No, 11 days notice.
11 days notice. This is nuts.
Now, so again, a little perspective. A lot of people have never worked in the corporate world, and as our listeners and watchers know, I have worked in the corporate world. When you're Joe person working there, a week's notice is normal. When you are an officer, 2 weeks notice is normal or expected. When you're the president of the company, you give bigger notice. I have a feeling there's a bit bigger story involved here. Very often they'll say, I'm resigning effective in 3 months as we're going to be grooming and making changes. It was less than 2 weeks. It was very surprising that this announcement came.
Absolutely.
And of course, Hasbro is not commenting on it further. Very interesting.
And we have to take this in the face of the fact that Hasbro has gone through such a roller coaster year. Hasbro Toy was just hemorrhaging money. Hasbro WotC, Wizards of the Coast, was not doing great, but it was flat. It didn't gain, it didn't lose, but this is just huge.
Over her tenure, though, I want to point out, she's been one of the most successful presidents for WotC.
Sure.
The Magic the Gathering brand exceeded $1 billion in annual revenue in 2022, and it's the first brand in the entire Hasbro world that has had that happen. And they have seen increases, though, as you mentioned, it's gotten a little flatter after that. But this definitely is going to send shockwaves through Hasbro, who is struggling in a lot of ways.
And it's in the middle of a huge reorganization going on at Hasbro right now. There's a lot of people been let go. Famously, there were huge numbers of layoffs, both within and outside of Wizards of the Coast.
Exactly. So our buddies at CMON, still talking about some of the bigger players here.
Oh, yeah.
CMON's profits soared 28% last year to more than $23 million. That's profit. That is not top-line revenue. So that's a big number in profits.
This is another story from our friends over at Board Game Wire.
And it's thanks to, and they're quoting, a huge drop in costs. The company, famous for miniatures-focused games such as Zombicide and Blood Rage, increased its gross profit by over 28% last year, according to their latest annual report. Remember, they also are a public company on a very small exchange out in Hong Kong.
The Hong Kong exchange.
It said that the rise is largely due to more than a 20% drop in costs of sales, with huge reductions coming via inventory, shipping, and handling costs. Well, as we know, shipping and handling has gone way down, and they must have somehow managed their inventory a lot better. Because inventory is a bear in a cost structure.
It's really interesting because Cool Mini has had really a storied history. They are publicly exchanged, so we know some things, and at one point they were actually downgraded on their exchange market. There were stories of tribulation, stories of great soars. It's been a roller coaster. But now, I kind of think it's their titles as well. They've had some really big titles that have blown up on crowdfunding. The Marvel titles, Marvel Zombicide knocked it out of the park. Yep. And I know there's a lot of fees involved, paying licensing to Marvel, but this was a very successful campaign.
Yeah. It says that CMON launched 4 Kickstarter projects last year, representing about $12 million almost, with its biggest successes comprising Marvel United Multiverse at $4.8 million, and Zombicide White Death at $3.8 million, and Deceased, a Zombicide game, at $2.6 million. So those great numbers that they all hit last year.
Oh, yeah. That's the other thing they're doing is they're really kind of double dipping in Marvel and DC. They're making like a very good game because Marvel Zombicide's one of my favorite Zombicides now.
Yes.
But they're double dipping it in both the Marvel and the DC side when they make them.
Absolutely. I did not back the DC side, even though I like DC too. I just had bought so much of the Marvel. I was I'll never.
It's a crazy amount of stuff.
Crazy.
I think I ended up backing the Marvel side for $650.
I did the full.
It was everything.
It was so dumb of me because I'm never going to get to it. No.
That's the right way to do it.
That's the right way to just go all in every time. So other companies, now, we always talk about these bigger companies that are publicly traded, like Hasbro and CMON. They have to report sales, and they do it publicly. We've also mentioned companies like Stonemaier Games And Steve Jackson Games, which are private companies, they talk about their sales.
They've always been very open.
They're very open about it, and that's something that they don't have to do, but they do. Steve Jackson Games sales slide, producing a loss. And this is from ICV2. Steve Jackson Games sales decline, producing a loss for the year, the company said in its report to stakeholders for 2023. Gross sales were $3.5 million. Now that's top line revenue. That's what they brought in, $3.5 million. So much lower than $23 million profit.
And this is the second year that they've had low sales.
Yep. The company had originally reported $4.7 million for 2022, but that number later was adjusted lower due to revised accounting for crowdfunding projects. The company said it had addressed some of its issues leading to the loss for the year and was continuing to work on others. The loss does not imply a threat to the company. Quote, no fear, we have plenty of runway left. I just hate to use it. Unquote, Jackson wrote. So Steve is still there, and Steve's
a smart guy. He knows how to run a company. And Steve Jackson Games has been around since the very beginning of hobby board gaming, at least in North America. Oh man, when do you think Steve Jackson Games started? It had to be the 80s, early 80s. It's been a long time.
The first games, which were the Car Wars, which is actually in their 6th edition, and is actually quoted here as doing one of their biggest stuff. Ogre, which they did this huge 6th edition Car Wars. Man. They did a huge Ogre. It was one of the first big Kickstarters. It was just shy of $1 million when that came out in like 2011 or something like that.
But they go way back. Speaking
80s.
of the huge boxes, Steve Jackson Games also announced that they're doing a giant box Munchkin. Because, of course, Munchkin is the product that runs Steve Jackson Games.
Wow.
So they're doing an enormous box of most of the Munchkin expansions in one big box.
I had not heard that. So is that something that they announced recently?
They announced it a day or two ago.
Oh, why is it not in our news? I guess it's
because we were talking. It is in our news. I just said it.
It's not a story though. Oh, that's pretty good. I did not hear that they did it. So they're gonna have one box
tying in the color commentary.
Wow, that's amazing. There. One box with
one
all
box giant Munchkin.
Wow, that's something I won't.
I don't think it's everything. I think it's more along the lines of the Carcassonne giant boxes, where it's a pick and choose.
Oh, okay. Very, very, very interesting. So what's this last story we have here? We have something from that Fantasy Flight Games, a division of Asmodee, and Dark Horse Comics, which I believe is the third biggest
division of. It's a sister company to Asmodee.
Oh, that's right. Dark Horse is owned by Embracer too.
Yeah,
I forgot.
Yeah.
Okay.
So basically, Dark Horse Comics is doing a comic book series that takes place in the Arkham Horror universe.
Oh, that's cool.
So what I really like about this is it's showing different pieces of Embracer Group playing together, which I think that's the real strength we have once Asmodee moved from the original equity company, PAI, when it sold over to Embracer. Now Asmodee is in the midst of other media companies, games, comic book, movies, this sort of thing. And we can get cross-pollination.
Yeah, and don't even forget to mention Middle-earth Enterprises, right?
Absolutely.
Now they have full and unfettered access to all things Tolkien, which, of course, I am an expert on, and Corey knows nothing about.
Nothing at all, certainly. I certainly never recorded all of the Lord of the Rings myself on a handheld tape recorder when I was 10.
He doesn't stop. Okay. But this is really cool. As you said, the biggest news here is that we're going to see a lot of this cross-pollination, the various Embracer companies using each other's IPs, which is
fantastic.
Just really good. And that's all the news, and that was quite a bit.
Woo!
Let's get over to strategy and tactics. So our first question here is from Bill Anderson. He's at Nix603. What would it take for you, me, both of us, Ignacy, I'm glad he's not here for this one, to add a new weekend gaming convention to your travel and attendance rotation?
Well,
from both an appearance / exhibitor point of view, that would be the Ignacy side, and an attendee
I
of view.
can tell you that if you invite Steven to be a special guest of honor, he will be there.
Yeah.
He will go to 107 conventions a year as long as someone says that he's a special guest.
Always be branding. That's
Always be branding.
Yes, I mean, and that is truly why I went to Tantrum Con this year and why I'm going to Kubla Khan, and I'll see Corey at his house in only a few weeks after the cruise. So, I mean, that's certainly one of them. I can't go to any given small con in some small location. I just can't. I mean, the travel at this point is out of control. So I now go when invited.
Sure.
And then we do things there, right? Then I go and I run events with them, and we have fun together. They promote me a little, and I give the people a good experience.
Yeah, I'm certainly not as much so, but I've been special guest at RageCon and some of the local cons.
Very cool.
For me, it's more openings in the schedule because I'm traveling so much, and does the travel work? I felt really bad missing Tantrum, but that was all the way across the country, so that would have eaten up so much travel time for me. But man, I heard that was an amazing one. I got to keep an eye on that for next year. But things like SaltCon, RageCon, Kubla Khan, DundraCon that are relatively local to me, they're easier for me to get to.
Absolutely. And I'll answer for Ignacy. There's no way he's adding any more cons to his schedule.
What if you had one, in Poland?
I don't think he'd still go to it. Lance Coffee, he's at L Coffee. Have you ever met a person who flat out refuses to play games? At what point did you give up even trying? I've tried super short games, party games, themed to their interest games with no results.
I just have to say, if someone doesn't want to play games, that's fine.
Yep.
And I don't feel a need to make them play a game. I will try a couple things if they're willing. I've had some people say, "Oh, I've never played games. I don't know. These look hard." And I'll say, "Let's try one. We'll get something down that's, pretty easy and pretty fun. And we'll bring down something goofy or something quick. Do like a Six Nimped or a point salad or Sushi Go."
Right. Those things are great. Kabanga is one we've been talking about a lot. So easy to play, so approachable.
Exactly.
But yeah, Corey's got a point. I mean, if people just refuse because of whatever reason, then you should basically let them refuse and move on. I did, though, on my last cruise, convince just via bringing something extremely light out. The happened to be the wife of a hardcore gamer who's like, I don't play games. I'll do it once in a while because he wants to. I do it for his birthday because he wants to. But she was on the cruise, enjoying the cruise, and she'd come down to the gaming area. And I brought out, and I can't remember, but one of the things I did bring out was In Vino Morte. Yeah. Which is just silly. It's like, I cannot drink the glass in front of me because obviously it is poison, so I will drink the glass in front of you. But knowing that, I will drink the glass in front of you. It's the last scene from Princess Bride. Or one
Sean
of the scenes.
Wallace, so good.
So I got her to play some games after showing her how much fun you can have with some super short, simple games.
Sure.
As a publisher, what is the best convention to attend? He also goes on to ask. On what basis? Do the convention hosts do something to make life easier for the publishers? The convention location, food, and hours. So it is a good question. It's funny he asked them in the same thing with that other one. But the one thing I'm going to say is that the best convention by far that Stronghold Games would ever attend was Essen, was the Spiel in Essen, because the games would fly off the shelves. You're promoting to a market that doesn't have the same access to your games, and they're getting to see
and
friends
additionally,
like me.
A lot of Stronghold's business, correct me if I'm wrong, but a lot of Stronghold's business was picking up European games and bringing them to the U.S. Mm-hmm. So I'm assuming that a lot of your business would happen in Europe to actually sign and pick up these games.
Absolutely. We would do I would have meetings literally every half hour for 8 hours a day. And that would be for 4 days. So I would be meeting and finding games and with other publishers and doing that.
Sure.
And then we would cross-promote the game. Like they would bring the game out in German and I would bring the game out in English on the same day and get a lot of big buzz on it. So it was good. So that was my best.
Now, with something special for the publishers, I have not seen very often that conventions will have there might be a room, like a little private room, or a quiet room that's accessible for exhibitors that the attendees don't have access to. I've seen a couple conventions. The one I really remember was Midgard in Iceland. Had a nice little relax and food green room with sneaky snacks and things for publishers.
Yeah, good shout out to them and to Board Game Geek Con in Dallas. They do the same thing for publishers
nice.
as well. They do, yeah. For some conventions though, and I will not mention them at the moment, some of them are actually hostile to publishers, which is amazing, but we're not going to talk about it. It's painful to talk about. As a publisher, what is your largest single print run of anything? Wow, three different questions all over. You do not need to share the game. Just curious about the number, and that's funny. We don't normally share the number, but we share.
Yeah, I was gonna say I know what one it would have been for Stronghold.
What would it be?
I mean, it.
You know it. It's the obvious one.
It would have been Terraforming Mars.
Terraforming Mars, where I printed a number, and I can't give the numbers. I printed a number. The demand was twice that. I then printed twice. That larger number. The demand again was twice that. I was not holding back supply. I literally couldn't keep up with the growing demand as the game got out there on a slower basis. Let's just say the number was, I don't know. It was, a large number, tens of thousands.
Well, a standard print run is usually going to be something like 5,000 or 10,000.
For
an unknown.
No, that's a pretty big number these days.
That's a big unknown.
That's a very big number these days. The market, people can't take chances on things. If it's a really it's not. We're not talking Asmodee, of course. They're going to do tens of thousands, everything.
And Hasbro do millions.
Of course, yeah.
So, but I know several board games that their first print run because of hype was 100,000.
Well, yeah, but that's Stonemaier because they have the biggest. Yeah, no, we know.
And they're pretty open about it.
They opened it too. That was Wormspan, but that just doesn't count. That was bigger than I bet any first game that Asmodee did this year. And in fact, they didn't do 100,000. They did 100,000, and then they had to do like another 50,000.
They had to immediately follow it up.
So that's crazy. The average small publisher now is doing 2,000 units, 4,000 units. Really small numbers because the market is so saturated. Taking a chance and printing all those games and keeping all the inventory is a huge thing. So tens of thousands is the largest one that I did. And Ignacio will probably say in the same thing if he was here.
I haven't done any.
You haven't done any yet.
I've paid for some.
That's right. Let's take one more question because we are definitely going a little long here. And it's from Eric, who's known as @Chewy from Australia. Steven, given your love of beer, any good games about beer you can recommend that are good? Similarly, do you have a beer and gaming pairing, i.e. specific games to go with specific beers? Okay, so I don't do that often. I mean, my most fun game about beer is something I haven't played in a long time. It's called Gold Brow. Did you ever play that?
No, I never played that one.
Gold Brow is the Munich Beer Festival, Oktoberfest, whatever, quick brain fart there. It's Oktoberfest, the board game. You're running a beer tent, and you're trying to get people to come to your beer tent. He's actually trying to go find these games and things like that. Oh, the Belgian beer race.
That's the big one for me. Belgian beers race. That one is probably my favorite one. That's beer oriented. That it's just a cool game about biking all around Belgium and trying to hit all these breweries.
And I did play that, and it was excellent. And that's from our very good friend Mark Spector over at the Grand Gamers Guild, who sponsored the contest and stuff like that we did here. So,
and he's here at the gathering.
Everyone's here. I don't know if I've ever paired specifically, but I guess if I was gonna pair a game with War of the Ring, it would have to be a hearty dark ale to get the dwarves into the game, because they never get into the game.
It comes in pints.
It comes in points. You gotta at least do the accent. Come on.
You didn't do the accent.
It comes in points. I did do it.
You failed miserably. You had like a Liverpool accent. You made the four hobbits become the Beatles.
That's exactly right.
It comes in points.
I did not say it like that. All right. We're going to go, after I type in next week into the show notes, we're going to go over to playtesting. All right, Corey. So last week, you asked a question. Why don't you
Yes.
ask it again, and then we'll take those answers.
I was curious about fandom in board games. So when you buy games, do you buy games based on the designer, the artist, the publisher? And if so, which designers, artists, and publishers are your favorites? And of course, present company is accepted.
Right.
No, you're not allowed to talk about Steam.
No Portal games, no Play to Z or Stronghold games, because we know that they're your favorites already.
Oh, absolutely.
So let's see. We'll take a few of these babies here.
Yeah.
Gavin Kenny from the United Kingdom, he said designers. Yes, but only Martin Wallace, and even then, I check I'm going to like the game first. Artists, no, but a good artist will help him sell the game. So I guess if you see some good art. And publishers, no, though I am less trustful of certain publishers that have a bad reputation.
I saw a lot of answers here that were really interesting with a negative side to it. I won't go to this one or that one. And they were very kind about not naming names, but saying that a publisher name might have a reputation, they might be wary.
Christian K said Carl Chuddick. That is all.
I have to admit, I look at every game Chuddick puts out. He is absolutely the master of the broken game. They are so delightfully, deliciously broken.
Disagree, but that's fine. Okay.
I love all.
I love Chuddick. I think he's one of those guys who thinks 3 standard deviations beyond the mean.
Oh, it's so
in just
weird
ways. He did a game. We did a game.
Overcomplicated stuff.
Overcomplicated, but we did Bear Valley with him.
Yeah.
And it's so much fun trying to ensure that you don't get eaten by the bears.
Yeah, the
but maybe
tile
you
laying
do.
game, following the paths and like
Card
trying
laying.
to avoid the bear.
Exactly, and rushing down the river, and it's fun. So Jacob Stein, designer, no. Artist, no. Publisher, sometimes. Chip Theory Games, I will almost always be interested in. I am one of their strategists, so I get a base copy anytime they make something new, though I often get more than that. They are only company that so far, that pretty much everything they have made at least has interested me.
Chip Theory does such amazing production quality, and the strategist thing, every crowdfunding project that Chip Theory puts out, they generally put one level that's expensive with only 6 or 8 possible buy-ins, and it's a strategist pledge. And if you get it, they will send you the base copy of every game they make forever, and every game they've ever made.
That's very interesting, really. And
it's a wonderful marketing thing, and I have tried numerous times, and I have never successfully gotten a strategist pledge. They go out in half a second.
Really? You have to just pick it up like immediately?
Oh yeah, I literally half a second, they're gone.
So everyone just waits there.
And they're such a good company. There was one year where they accidentally put too many strategist pledges on. There's normally only 6 or 8 of them. One year they had, I think, 100 that they actually put in, and they honored them all.
That's very nice. That is very,
and
very
they were
nice.
gone in half a second.
Wow. So Bill Bricker,
Bill.
I just played This War of Mine with. It's his game. If I'm backing it on Kickstarter, then publisher plays a very large role in my decision making. A first-time publisher is usually a hard no unless it's someone I know and trust. If I'm buying off the shelf, I typically gravitate toward games with minis. I love moving little plastic people around the board, and theme is very important to me. It certainly is with This War of Mine.
Whew.
The game is from a designer I know and enjoy. That can affect my decision, but I normally don't buy a game based solely on designer.
So Peter Woken, who's a friend of the channel as well, amazing graphic designer and artist. Peter wrote, sounds shallow, but it has to have really great art, or I'm far less interested in buying or playing the game. And this was another trend that I saw, is people are following designers, people are following publishers, but as a secondary step, it has to have good art. So people aren't following the artist per se, but that's a necessity for them to get excited about a game.
Very, very good. I had a feeling we were going to get pretty good feedback to each one of those things.
Oh, I enjoyed reading them all.
Yeah.
They were really cool.
And Corey, again, because you're so much better than this than I am, you've come up with another question.
I wrote like 7 or 8 questions
You're
this
that good.
week.
You're that good, sir. What is the question for this week?
So, I played a bunch of games that, to me, were mechanical, mechanism-based games with a theme kind of on top of it. And I'm really curious, do you read that flavor text that's on the cards when you play one of these games? You know, there's a picture, there's icons, it says what you do mechanically, but there's also a little flavor text involved. So do you read the flavor text every time you play? Or, maybe only the first time or never? I'm just curious how interested people are on the flavor text on cards.
So for me, I do...
You're a theme guy.
I am a theme guy. I do like to read them, but I only... So, I'll put it this way. So it's like Terraforming Mars. It's got flavor text on every card.
Oh, yeah.
It does. Usually fairly short, too, so it's not that hard to read it. But I have to admit, I don't often go down to it, especially since I play the game so much. I don't often go down to it because it's not a story-driven game. There's definitely story in that game as that you terraform the planet. Yeah. But in a game such as this War of Mine, the 14th time we've mentioned this game, right? Or all of these games
or
that
War of the Ring or Dune.
War of the Ring doesn't have too much flavor text on the cards.
All right.
All right. But or Dune. But I will read on those games where the theme is really or it's a storytelling game, and you really just want to know all about the stuff that's going on.
And I'm not talking about if there's it's a storytelling game where the mechanism really is the story.
Right. So, what do you guys think? I mean, I kind of like that stuff out there. But sometimes it'll slow the game down. I have friends who will yell at me if I read too much of it. So I try.
I've yelled at you.
Not for that reason. You've yelled at me for other reasons.
Well, I've yelled at you a lot.
Right now, I'm going to go out there and create a thread on Board Game Geek for you to answer this question. So please go to our guild on Board Game Geek. And if you're not a member of one of the biggest guilds out there, why are you not? Please sign up for the guild. Then find the playtesting thread in the forums in the forums, and answer our question to you. And in the meantime, it's the final scoring.
Dun, dun, dun.
Thank you so much for listening, and help us spread the word about this podcast by telling your friends to download Board Games Insider wherever they like to get their podcasts, or watch Board Games Insider on the Podfather of Gaming YouTube channel. If you want to be part of this podcast, you can. Just ask us questions for strategy and tactics by posting them in the correct thread in the guild on Board Game Geek, and also answer our question to you in the playtesting thread for this episode. Check out our websites, which are portalgamesus.com, podfathergaming.com, dicetowerdish.com, and play2zgames.com. All over social media, like our pages on Facebook /BoardGamesInsider /PortalGamesUS /PodfatherGaming /Play2ZGames. Talk directly to all of us on Twitter, X, Instagram, at PortalGamesUS, at PodfatherGaming, and at DiceTowerDish.
We get lonely.
We do. We're lonely people. And our active YouTube channels are Portal Games Studio, The Podfather of Gaming, and Above Board TV. Ignacio's on TikTok alone, Portal Games US.
But he might be dancing.
He might be. And we'd really, again, of course, love to see you at any convention. Please come up to us, talk to us, hang out with us, play a game with us. We live to interact with our friends and fans out there. Board Games Insider, professionally edited by Joshua Bowman from Tabletop Submarine Podcast. If you want your podcast edited by Joshua, reach out to him to discuss at tabletopsubmarine@gmail.com. And that great voice you hear doing the intro, the outro, the in-between segments is that of Ray Greenlee. He can be contacted to do your voiceover work at raygreenleevoiceover.com. Corey.
Actually, it's really interesting. Again, if you're at a convention where we're at, we love talking to you. We love saying hello. And even at the gathering of friends, 3 times now, I had someone a little ways away from me go, wait, I know that voice.
Oh, that's great.
And come over and just say that they really like the show. And those are the sort of things that really make my day.
Yeah, I get that a lot, too. I really get that a lot, like, oh, I know that voice. And other people now coming up to me and saying, I see your face on Board Game Geek like every week now. So
we're slapped right on the front page.
We're slapped there quite a bit. So everybody, thank you for your support. We really appreciate it. And we'll see you next time.
See you later, everyone.
Bye-bye.